Hey there YouTube, this is mr.lubufu and I am here with a ton of spoilers for Theros, specifically all the ones that were at PAX. So we're just going to go ahead and hop right in. I'm going to say what I think about it and then we'll just go to the next one. So the first one is Chained to the Rocks. So this is our 1 mana enchantment Oblivion Ring. Not really Oblivion Ring, more like Swords to Plowshares. But it's not really Swords to Plowshares. So the big thing is this is incredibly flavorful. So it's white for Enchant Mountain you control. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature until Chained to the Rocks leaves the battlefield. So basically, if you're playing some sort of red-white deck, this is incredibly good removal. Works well with cards like Sacred Foundry. So Sacred Foundry had like a bit of a price spike actually after Chained to the Rocks. I love the flavor of this card. I think that this is really interesting. I was curious to see whether or not it would be Enchant Mountain or Enchant Island, because there's two different myths for the Greeks. But it was still pretty cool. I'm very impressed with it, and I think this card might see some sort of standard play. Next we actually have, I'm going to go over just the Gift of Immortality here. I'm going in order of colors. So Gift of Immortality is a 3-mana enchantment. Enchant creature. When it dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control, and return Gift of Immortality attached to that creature at the beginning of the next end step. So this is certainly interesting. That I want to say that this just feels kind of terrible. Because any answer to the creature when you try and cast Gift of Immortality means an easy 2-for-1. But you can say that about any enchantment. But the other thing is, like, it returns it at the beginning of the next end step. So if they kill it during the end step, and then they find a way to kill it during the next turn, then you lose your Gift of Immortality. The question is, do you get a 2-for-1 out of that for yourself, or 2-for-2, or it's just like, what sort of value is coming in here? I really am not sure how to judge this card, so I'm not going to try. Yeah. Now we have the first Planeswalker spoiled, Elspeth, Sun's Champion, which I think, as a name, is meh. 6 mana, starts out with 4 loyalty, +1, puts 3 1/1 white soldiers, so, you know, still on the white soldier creature plan. First iteration made 1. Second iteration made 3, and this one makes 3 as well. Her -3 is kind of what impressed me. Destroy all creatures with power 4 or greater. So that's why she costs so high, is this sort of wrath-like effect. Kills cards like, I'm trying to think of post-rotation, of course, Colonian Hydra, Blood Baron of Viscopa, Aetherling, but they can, of course, always flicker Aetherling. And then her -7, which is kind of impressive. You get an emblem with creatures you control, get +2 and +2 and have flying. It's certainly an interesting emblem, that's for certain. It's my gut tells me that for 6 mana that she's not going to be as powerful. I think the new Chandra is actually better than her. 6 mana is just so restrictive, it really is. And when you start getting to 6 mana, you have to really do stuff. Like, even Gideon at 5, given Gideon was among the better Planeswalkers. Anyway, let's just move on. Next we have Voyage's End. So it is Unsummon plus Scry 1 at the cost of 1 extra colorless mana. Well, I play Disperse in Limited, which arguably is slightly better than Unsummon. But I like these sort of bounce effects, and I think that this is going to be fine Limited fodder. And I'm certainly going to play a few of them in any sort of deck that I drafted Limited. Standard, I don't think that this is the deck that's going to do well. Next we have Cabron Lamp. So it's a 4-mana 2/2. Intimidate, which also has Bestow for 6. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and has Intimidate. I mean, it's a common. It'll play into stuff. I mean, I like that it's a nymph. It's a good creature type for it. But other than that, it's common fodder. Don't expect it to be absolutely insane, but don't expect it to be, you know, terrible either. Read the Bones is certainly an interesting one. So it's 2 colorless and a black for Scry 2, then draw 2 cards, then lose 2 life. one, I think it's incredibly flavorful, and two, I think this card's actually not bad for limited play. Because Sign in Blood, black, black, draw 2 cards, lose 2 life, that's all play in the heavy black decks. And this one, being able to scry 2 first makes it very powerful. Those of you that know Force C know how incredibly powerful this effect can be, and I think that this card's going to be certainly playable in a lot of limited decks if you're going black. Next, you have Rescue from the Underworld, which is incredibly flavorful. It's 5 mana. As an additional cost, sack a creature. Choose target creature card in your graveyard. Return it and the sacrifice card to the battlefield under your control at the beginning of the next upkeep, and then exile Rescue from the Underworld. So it's quite literally you are sending one creature to the Underworld, i.e. graveyard, by sacking it, and then they return with the one that you wanted to return. So I think it's incredibly flavorful. I think it's going to be a very powerful card, actually. You get to block, sacrifice it. Let's say they're attacking, you can block, cast Rescue, sack the creature that's blocking, and then get get the creature back and the one that you want at the beginning of your next upkeep. So it's better to cast it during their turn than it is during your turn, for obvious reasons. Then, of course, the big one everyone is talking about, Thoughtseize is back. Thoughtseize at Rare is back. Thank goodness. I think the art is pretty sick, and I'm glad to see this card back. I really am. Everyone's talked about it, and I'm just going to say, I'm glad Thoughtseize is back. Now we have a Cabron Crusades. Well, it's a red mana 1/1 that has Heroic, so whenever you cast a spell that targets it, put a 1/1 red soldier token with haste onto the battlefield. Now these are soldiers and not humans like the last set, so the red human tokens you got from Innistrad, not with these guys. Still, I think it's fine. I don't think it's going to see much play, though. They're going to be better one drops. Now you have Hammer of Porthos. 3 mana, so this is his enchantment. It's the legendary enchantment artifact. Creatures you control have haste, and then sack a land, put a 3/3 colorless golem. Enchantment artifact creature token. I think it's not that good, to be totally honest. I mean, having your creatures have haste is cute. I mean, we've all seen cards like Fervor in the past. And the second ability you don't want to use too often because, well, you only have so many lands. I mean, it helps with mana flood, so that's fine. We have Rageblood Shaman, who is our Minotaur Lord. 3 mana, 2/3 with Trample. That other Minotaurs get +1/+1 and Trample. Depends on the number of Minotaurs we have to back it up, to be honest. See if this will be good and constructed or not, but I don't think so. Bow of Nylea. Attacking creatures you control have Death Touch. It is not all creatures you control have Death Touch, so only when they attack. And then you can this sort of choose one effect. Put a +1/+1, or it deals 2 damage to target creature with flying, or you gain 3 life, or put 4 cards from your graveyard, 4 target cards from your graveyard on the bottom of your library. So lots of effects. I think that this is much better than the hammer, just because of the diversity it offers. But I'm not sure if it's good enough for constructed, to be totally honest. Now we have Commune with the Gods. It's 2 mana, reveal the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a creature or enchantment card from among them into your hand, put the rest into your graveyard. This is the same sort of feeling as Mulch, and Mulch was also sorcery, so same sort of feel, fills the same sort of slot. I'm not sure, I don't think Reanimator will be a deck because of the lack of Unburial Rights, but it digs. Otherwise, I don't think you'll see play. Now we have Nylea, God of the Hunt, so the second of the gods have been spoiled. 4 mana, 6/6, indestructible. That as long as your devotion to green is less than 5, she isn't a creature. Other creatures you control have trample, and you can give target creature +2/+2. Now I think she's worse than the blue one, because the blue one would just give you a free scry. This one just gives you guys trample, which does reward you if you're playing big creatures, which means your devotion to green should be high. But other than that, I'm not as impressed with this one as I am of the blue god. Now we go on to Reverend Hunter, 3 mana 1/1. When it enters the battlefield, put a number of +1/+1 counters onto it equal to your devotion to green. So at worst, it's a 3 mana 2/2. Hopefully it's better, of course. Depends how heavy your deck is in green, to be honest. If you can abuse him, like turn 2 Colonian Husker into him, then it's a 3 mana 4/4. So that's slightly better. Now we have Underworld Cerebrus. A lot of people have been talking about this. So it's a 5 mana 6/6, which is quite powerful for its size. Can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. Good effect. Cards in graveyards can't be a target of spells or abilities. Okay. And when it dies, exile it, and each player returns all creature cards from his or her graveyard to his or her hand. I think it's basically just like, it's going to be very powerful and limited. I don't think that this will fit, like, be that good in constructed though. That's just my personal opinion. So we'll see how that one pans out. And lastly, we have the card that I'm actually most excited about that we're spoiled, Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. It's a legendary land that not only taps for colorless, but 2 tap, choose a color, add mana to your mana pool equal to the amount of mana equal to your devotion to that color. So it's not as good as Cabal Coffers, but it's still pretty good if you're playing some sort of monocolor. But if you have more than 2, and you can start abusing it, yeah, this card can do a lot of work really fast. Anyway, that's going to be it. So thank you guys all for watching. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll keep you guys updated on the next spoilers.